The Iran war is revealing a critical shift. Some of Donald Trump's potentially decisive supporters are no longer blindly following the former president. These disagreements could evolve into a fundamental dispute over the future direction of the Republican Party. Until just this past Tuesday, the name Joe Kent was likely only familiar to political insiders outside of the United States. Kent, who had served as the director of the National Counterterrorism Center, made international headlines that day. In a letter to President Donald Trump, Kent announced his immediate resignation from the agency, stating he could no longer in good conscience support the United States war in Iran. He went even further, asserting that Iran had not posed an imminent threat to the United States, contrary to Trump's claims. The 45-year-old called Trump's statement a lie. White House spokesperson Caroline Leavitt responded with a lengthy rebuttal on the platform X, stating, "This is the same false claim that Democrats and parts of the liberal media repeatedly make." However, Kent is neither a Democrat nor a member of the media. Like Donald Trump, he is a Republican. Kent's departure represents more than just a dissatisfied employee within the Trump administration. His narrative symbolizes the growing estrangement of a segment of the American right that had, until now, almost unconditionally supported Trump. Kent justified his resignation not only by arguing that Iran did not pose a significant threat. He also claimed that the United States had been drawn into the war by Israel. His resignation letter stated, "We started this war because of pressure from Israel and its American lobby." This is a narrative that has been heard from various voices within the Trump sphere since the war's outbreak. Even United States Secretary of State Marco Rubio had initially spoken about the United States' involvement in the war because Israel had planned an attack regardless. Trump himself had previously denied this account. His former national security advisor, John Bolton, also told T-Online that Rubio's statements were completely ridiculous. Whether Iran truly posed an immediate military threat to the United States is questioned by many military experts. However, it is considered likely that Kent's resignation had less to do with purely military aspects of the war. His words appear to be a message to Trump that he can no longer be certain of the complete support of the far right wing. Kent was considered a political hardliner even before his resignation. He had twice failed to secure a seat in the United States House of Representatives for the Republicans. During this time, he was reported to have employed a member of the far-right Proud Boys. He also gained notoriety for frequently appearing on the show of former Fox News host and longtime Trump supporter Tucker Carlson. Carlson is considered one of the mouthpieces of the Make America Great Again movement, which forms the hardcore of Trump supporters. But even Carlson is no longer unconditionally by Trump's side. Carlson praised Kent after his resignation as the bravest man he knew and invited him back on his show. Carlson has also recently reiterated the narrative that Israel, and not the United States, is the driving force behind the war. He stated, for example, just days after the United States and Israel began their joint attack, "This is Israel's war, not the United States." Carlson has been accused of anti-Semitism for his remarks, as has Kent. Republican Representative Don Bacon commented on Kent's resignation, saying, "Anti-Semitism is an evil that I detest, and we certainly do not want it in our government." Other figures in the Trump camp are taking their criticism even further. This includes the far-right extremist Nick Fuentes. The 27-year-old openly propagates racist and anti-Semitic views online. On the platform X alone, Fuentes has 1.3 million followers and is considered influential, particularly within the young, radical right-wing scene. He also used the war in Iran to settle scores with Trump as president. Just a few days ago, Fuentes shared on social media, "Right now, Iran is fighting more for America than America is fighting for America." He therefore prayed for the Iranian martyrs and the killed state leader Ayatollah Khamenei, because they are fighting against Israel. Fuentes had previously supported Trump's policies, but turned away from Trump in the course of the war. The extremist shared on the platform X, "We did not leave MAGA, MAGA left us." Most recently, he also attacked Trump's Vice President J.D. Vance, who has so far avoided clear statements for or against the war, claiming Vance is trying to save his chances in the year 2028 by only tacitly distancing himself from the war. The trends of demarcation within the Trump camp had already begun before the Iran war. This was particularly evident in two events: the United States government's handling of the Epstein documents, and during the raids by Immigration and Customs Enforcement and other border protection agencies in Minneapolis earlier this year. In the wake of the Epstein revelations, Trump was accused of a lack of transparency, even from within his own ranks. During his election campaign, Trump had repeatedly spoken of making all investigative files on Epstein public as president. A large part of the documents remains under wraps by the government, although it is now legally obliged to release them in full. Marjorie Taylor Greene, for example, fell out with Trump over the handling of the Epstein documents. The Republican had previously been a fervent Trump supporter and was considered one of the well-known faces of the Make America Great Again movement. Taylor Greene has now not only broken with Trump, but also resigned her mandate as a representative in Congress. Trump now denounces his former ally as a traitor. Trump received further backlash after Americans Renee Good and Alex Priddy were shot and killed in Minnesota by officers from various border protection agencies. Podcaster Joe Rogan also criticized this, asking on his show, "Do we really want to be like the Gestapo?" Rogan is currently one of the most successful podcasters in the world. Each episode of his show is heard millions of times. Rogan is considered a central voice of the Manosphere, a group of independent male media creators who propagate an ultra-conservative social worldview and are very popular, especially among young Trump voters. Rogan had hosted Trump on his show during the 2024 election campaign and later called for his election. Today, he also criticizes Trump for the Iran war. Among the voter base, however, the discontent towards Trump is less noticeable. According to a recent poll by the Reuters news agency and the Ipsos Polling Institute, 59% of Americans currently reject the war in Iran. The majority of Republican voters, however, stand behind the war with 77%. Former Trump advisor Bolton told T-Online that was the classic Republican line until 2016. Therefore, he remains convinced that the war is supported by a majority of Republican voters. However, even small changes in the coming months could lead to significant political shifts. In November, Trump intends to defend his narrow majority in the Senate and House in the midterm elections. What's your take on Trump's core support falters as Iran war sparks rift? Share your view in the comments. Do you think this will matter in the next news cycle? This video was generated using artificial intelligence.